Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kevin Plays Disc Golf. Today we have a playthrough and course review from the Blue Bear Disc Golf course at the Blue Bear Inn in Francestown, New Hampshire. My name is Kevin, and I play disc golf. Filming on course for this video was done on August 1st, 2025. The course originally opened in July of 2025, approximately 2 weeks before I played. Primary access to the course will be from New Hampshire Route 47. If you're coming from the west, just after you pass Crotched Mountain Ski Area on the right, take your first right onto Back Mountain Road. This is a dirt road that goes significantly uphill. After about 1/2 mile, the road will end. Take a left and you'll see the Blue Bear Inn on your left and the parking lot is across the street on the right. From the east on Route 47, unfortunately there are no good markers. However, just after passing the intersection with 2nd New Hampshire Turnpike, there will be a blue informational sign on the right indicating that the next left goes to the Blue Bear Inn. Route 47 will bear right and you should bear left onto Mountain Road. Continue for about 1 mile and you'll see the Blue Bear Inn on your right. Parking is across the street on the left. The course is $5 to play as of August 2025. There is a drop box with the Venmo code on the fence on the right next to the gate that leads to the pool. Please note that the pool is only open for guests of the inn and annual pool pass members. As this course is brand new, some of the course information is likely to change as the course matures. There was quite a bit of active work going on to improve the course, and there is the possibility that the tee and basket positions could change as time goes on. After my round, I spoke with the property owner, and I'll have some more information on the property and the plans for the disc golf course at the end of the video. The course is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and if you're coming from any significant distance away, I would recommend contacting the Blue Bear Inn directly, link in the description, prior to playing to make sure there are no other events going on. The guests of the inn do take priority, as well they should. Please be courteous to the guests and staff of the inn. Dogs are allowed as long as they are cleaned up after. They should remain leashed as well, as there are chickens on the property. Outside alcohol is not allowed. However, there is a tavern that is part of the inn that is open beginning at 5 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and during their Sunday brunch from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. When I played, there was only the longer blue layout set up on most holes, though shorter white tee course configuration was in the process of being set up at the time. Trash should be treated as carry in, carry out. There is a porta potty between the pool and Mountain Road. I'll have my overall review of the course at the end of the video. Be sure to post your comments as to your thoughts of what looks fun and where you think the problem areas are. To get to the tee for hole 1 from the parking lot, first you should go across the street to the payment drop box and pay the $5 fee that is on the fence to the right of the main entrance to the inn. From there, walk back up the road past the front of the inn, which would be to your left of the inn if you are looking at the main entrance from the parking lot. After the driveway for the inn, there will be a break in the rock wall on the right side leading towards a small field. Go through the break in the wall and the blue tee for hole 1 will be just in front of you on the left. U-disc lists hole 1 as a 138-foot par 3. Straight ahead, there are 2 sets of tees on each hole. The blue flags will indicate the blue tees, which are going to be the longer ones. And then from here we can see just ahead on the right, we can see 2 stakes with white flags on either side of it. Those are the shorter tees. This is pretty straightforward. I would treat the road to the left is out of bounds because that is the road we drove in on, and we'll see how we can do from here. Well, that is a good start to the round. Let's see if we can start this off with a birdie. Hooray, that is a good start. The baskets that are being used are Axiom Pros, which in bright pink are very easy to see. I've done a little bit of looking around the course, and I believe all the ones I've seen are this bright pink color. So again, very easy to spot from wherever we may happen to be. To get from the basket of 1 to the tee for 2, we take a right
And we go back up this way a little bit. Have the rock. And we have a chicken and a couple other roosters. And here we have the blue tees for hole 2. Udiscless hole 2 is a 164-foot par 3. Straight ahead, there is a nice fairway gap here, and a little narrow, but not too bad for what we're looking for. The white flags are a little bit difficult to see, but they are basically at the entrance to the tree line there, going from the large white birch tree on the left straight across. That kicked a little bit left into the woods, but I should still be able to see the basket and have a birdie putt from there. All right, so my disc is basically on the edge of the wood line, and I still have about a 30-foot putt for my birdie. So let's see if I can toss this one in there. Snuck that in, 2 for 2 start. To get from the basket of 2 to the tee for 3, we can continue straight past. And if we look to our right, there is a small brook here. Just to know, we do need to cross that on the 3rd hole. But if we continue straight and we take a left, we have the blue tees for hole 3 right in front of us. Udiscless hole 3 is a 105-foot par 3, although this does appear to be somewhat longer than that. It is uphill. It is a severe dogleg to the right. We cannot see the basket from the tee. However, if we see the pine tree off in the field, the basket from where this camera is roughly in line with the right edge of the branches of the pine tree. So we do have to go a long way right, and we have a pretty narrow gap to get through there. Based on what I'm seeing here, I would treat the rock wall on the left as out of bounds, though it is not marked as such. It actually looks like there's a secondary gap. Aside from going straight over the bridge, we may be able to sneak it through the next gap over to the right. That will reduce the amount of left to right that we need to do to get there, but it is riskier. It is a smaller gap, but it is higher up in the air, so it may be easier to get there that way. Well, that's the risk of going through the right gap, but I will have a clear shot from there, even though I'm just behind the rock we can see at the top of the crest of the fairway. It is a clear shot from there to basket. It's going to be long circle 2 putt from there, but at least I can see the basket. Here we can see the basket. We're on the edge of the tree line just after we come out of the open after crossing the bridge. I am by the rock on the far left, and we can see the basket in front of what I believe is an apple tree, but there is quite a bit of room back there before we get to that. I had to go around the pine tree on the second shot, but easy drop in for 3. I will take that. To get from the basket of 3 from the tee of 4, if we continue on up the fairway of 3, we have the basket over there, but if we continue straight with the rock wall on our left, we end up and go over to these logs. We have, just in front of this log pile, we have the long tees for hole 4. Udiscless hole 4 as a 173-foot par 3. Straight ahead, again, the basket is on this side of the fence. There's about 15 feet past the basket before we get to that fence. There's no out of bounds listed or marked, but if you want to challenge yourself a little bit, I would consider anything past that fence out of bounds. That should give me another birdie putt. And here we have my birdie putt, and if we pan left a little bit, we can see we have some gorgeous views across the field and into the little local valley here. And there we go. So to get from the basket of 4 to the tee for 5, if we go past the basket, and again, we have these absolutely gorgeous views. It is a beautiful day out today. If you come here later in the fall, this is going to be pretty astonishing. But we head back over towards the pool. And if we look back over the pool here, we'll see we have the long tees for hole 5. U-discless hole 5 is a 282-foot par 3. This one's straight ahead. The basket here is black. It is not the pink of the earlier holes. The basket is difficult to see from here, but it is just to the right of the edge of the break in the rock wall. It's over and past the rock wall, probably about 75 to 100 feet or so. It is just to the left of the largest bush that is right of that left gap in the rock wall. So we can see it from here, but it is difficult to spot. We do have the trees on the left that come into play, and one thing is we do not want to go too far right, as the ground drops off very, very steeply downhill the further right we go. We'll get a little bit better view of that on the next hole, but again, the idea here is we want to try and keep it as close to those woods on the left as we can without actually going into those woods. And that was my first really bad throw of the day, straight into the ground. You can see the top of the basket peeking over the rock wall in the same spot just to the left of the bush that is just behind the rock wall. So we do have a bit of a right to left breeze, but hopefully we'll see what we can do without throwing this one into the ground. Not into the ground, but straight into the woods. The edge of the rock wall, here we get a better view of exactly where the basket is. I will say that the backside of this rock wall has not been mowed, but again, with this being a brand new course, everything that I've seen up to this point has been very good. I have found my disc. I'm in the woods on the left. I don't think I have a clear shot at the basket, but we'll see what we can do. I'm buried in the woods. I do not have a clear shot at the basket, and this is actually a bit of a death putt. If you go too far, you do end up having a chance of having a roll away down the slope, though I don't think it's going to be too far. It's just going to be a bit annoying more than problematic. You could be left with a 25-foot putt instead of a 20-foot putt. Well, there's our 5 for the round so far. To get from the basket of 5 to the tee for 6, if we go back out towards the rock wall, but instead of following a path, we go a little bit down here to the left. This tee is a little bit difficult to see, but we have a small blue marker on a tree there, just by that stump, and then the other marker is a little bit hidden in the weeds there, but this is the tee for hole 6. U-discless hole 6 is a 201-foot par 3, straight ahead, straight downhill. This looks like a section where they have just recently cleared this area out. The basket is straight ahead. We can see it though, because it is one of the black baskets. It's a little bit difficult to pick out exactly where it is, but it is pointed straight ahead. If we look through the little sort of bare gap on the downed trees just in front of us, it is above that, off in the distance. And left into the woods is the one place you do not want to go here. Long is bad as well, but left in the woods where I am is about the worst place to be here. So here we can get a little bit better look at the basket from here. If we look just to the right of the last tree before it opens back up, you can see that though it is brush in here, it looks like there has been some active cleaning out that has happened here. So even though I ended up way left of where I want to be, my disc was easy to find, and though I have a very difficult shot going out of here, I really shouldn't be in here to begin with. So I was able to stretch out to basically throw directly over this camera to start with, and was able to get it high enough to get out of some of these branches. So I have a makeable par putt. Now to see if I can make a putt. Well, bogey there as well, but I deserve that based on how bad my tee shot was. What is the safest way to get from the basket of 6 to the tee for 7 is if we go past the basket for 6, we continue out past this gap in the rock wall, and then we take a right and head back up the hill. That will get us out of target zone for people who are throwing on hole 6 behind us. And we start going back up the hill. Hole 6 is very steeply downhill, and I don't think the camera does a real good job of showing how steeply downhill it really is. So if we continue up the hill, here we have the long tees. U-discless hole 7 is a 228-foot par 3. It is deceptively uphill. That will not show up well on the camera, and the ground does slope fairly significantly downhill going from right to left. The wood chips that we can see there are a bit raised over the green area around it, so ideally if we can get on top of the wood chips, that would be good. We do not want to go in that thick brush on the right side. That looks pretty dense and is going to be pretty tough to find a disc if it goes in there. And that ended up right in the middle of the brush where I did not want to be. Well, the good news there is that I was able to retrieve my disc. The bad news is that is all blackberry bushes that are in there, and you do not want to end up in there. I also discovered a bee's nest in there. Thankfully saw it before I got too close to it, but it took some creativity to get my disc out of there. So I'd absolutely treat this as out of bounds and do whatever you can to not end up in that group of bushes here. So I'm going to take my 1 penalty stroke. So we'll see how this works for 3. I should have a putt for 4 from there. And for my bogey putt. And that is a 4 that I'm happy with. To get from the basket of 7 to the tee for 8, if we take a right and continue on along the top of the pile of wood chips here, and continue down the back side, walk over to the rock wall and the road, and right here we have the tee for hole 8. U-discless hole 8 is a 292-foot par 3, very significantly downhill. We cannot see the basket from the tee. However, it is behind the cluster of bushes that is just peeking up over the crest there. There's gaps around both the left and right side, although the right side gap is quite a bit narrower than the left. If you do end up going into those bushes, it's not out of bounds, and you won't have the brush problem that you did on hole 7, but it's still not a great place to end up. You're going to end up with a very difficult shot to get out of there for your par 3. So I think the safer play here is to be further left than right. All right. I'm not sure you could see it from there, but that right there is the reason I bought the disc. I do have a little bit of a left to right wind helping me out, but I think I made it past the bush and may actually have a shot at circle 2 putt for birdie from there. So I don't think I can really overstate how steep of a hill this is here either. I actually went all the way down the hill and made it not quite all the way to the bottom of the hill, but I am probably 70 feet past the hole and just on the edge of the woods here. So I'm to the left of where we're standing, uphill and obstructed. So I'm going to, if I can get a 3 here, I will be pretty happy with this. No gaps, even more obstructed than I thought. So I basically, all I could do was chip out from there. So again, that's where my disc ended up, is where I was hoping my disc was after the drive. Long par putt from here. And that was high, gonna be makeable, but not a tap in for bogey. Good thing my putter's still working. To get from the basket of 8 to the tee for 9, we want to take a left and continue downhill. And there is a little path through these trees over here, just behind the basket. And if we follow that down, down is the operative word here, we have the tee for hole 9. Hole 9 is a 150-foot par 3, dogleg right. We can see the basket from the tee going straight as it looks through all that brush. It is a pink basket, so it may be a little easier to spot in person than it is on the camera. But the primary way is going to be to go left through the main gap there and then have it sort of slowly drift right as you get closer to the hole. It's a net elevation drop, though it's not much, maybe only a couple feet drop from here to the basket. So that hit the second large pine tree, basically the last large pine tree gap there. That was headed in the right direction. It's probably a circle 2 putt from there. This is going to be real tough to make a run at, but should be able to pretty easily get it close, so I should have a short putt for par. A little bit shorter than ideal, but a makeable par putt, which hopefully would end the round on a good note. Yeah, chain out for 4, not great, but not the worst way to end the round after a less than ideal tee shot. Now for our long journey from the basket of 9 back to the parking lot. We want to go straight up this hill. If we look at the top off in the distance, we can see the basket for hole 7. We do want to be a little bit careful for people playing on 7 and 8, but basically walking straight up the hill to that point avoids most of the fairways and other places where you could potentially get hit by a disc. This is very steeply uphill, even if it looks like I'm walking slow at super speed. It's because of how steeply uphill this is. There is a bit of a path between the basket for 7 and the tee for 8 that heads to the pool. So that is the direction you're going to want to go. And again, here we can get to the pool, walk past the porta potty. There is a break in the fence on the left. And when we get to the road, we can take a right and see the inn. And just ahead of us on the left is the parking lot.
As this is a new course, there was a significant amount of work still being done. The most notable maintenance was at the far side of the rock wall, with the basket for hole 5 and the fairway of hole 6 is still being cleaned up. Additionally, the woods behind the tee of hole 9 are being cleaned up, and this will make hole 9 longer. The white tees were set up on holes 1 through 3, and the remainder were being set up. Having spoken with the property owner, there's also potential plans to move the basket of hole 1 down the path that has been cleared out, so the fairways for holes 1 and 2 will be parallel, and the basket for hole 1 will be down towards the end of that path. The thumbnail for this course is from the basket of hole 4 with the beautiful view in the background. Pictures don't do justice to how beautiful the view is from this part of the course. My favorite hole as the course is currently laid out is hole 5. Between the beautiful view and a hole that requires a precise tee shot to get a birdie on, this is just a very pleasant place to be. My least favorite hole is hole 7. This largely has to do with me playing right-hand forehand and ending up deep in the raspberry bushes. They are thick enough that I strongly considered not looking for my disc even though I saw exactly where it went in. One way around this would potentially be to set up an artificial out-of-bounds area that is well before the bushes, allowing for as much as 20 feet or so of an area where you can find your disc, but would still be OB in order to more strongly discourage you from ending up where I did. Given the newness of the course and justified lack of signage due to the high potential for tee and basket locations to be modified, this course was relatively easy to navigate. The only places I needed to use UDisc to figure out exactly where I needed to be were finding the tee of hole 1, finding the basket of hole 3, finding the basket of hole 5, which if this particular basket was one of the pink or melon colored baskets rather than black could be more easily seen from the tee, finding the hole 6 tee, which will be no problem to find once that section has been more fully cleared out and marked, and the basket of hole 8. Navigating this course is like taking a tour of a nice house that is still under construction. You can see where the framework is, can determine where all the rooms are, and you can see the potential for the final product, but there are still some details that are in the process of being finished, like there being no walls on the bathroom or the living room floor having holes in it. This course is quite safe for discs. Even though there are a few places where it currently may take a minute or two to find your disc, like the fairway of hole 6 or over the crest of hole 8, the only real places to potentially lose a disc is in the raspberry bushes on hole 7 or going over the rock wall and into the road on hole 1 and having it get run over. There wasn't anywhere that I used a disc because I didn't want to lose the disc that would have been the better option. The tee pads are currently temporary in nature, but this is largely due to the course not being fully finalized, and it is not worth putting more permanent tee pads in yet. Remember, at the time of filming, the course had only been open for about 2 weeks. The tee signs don't exist yet for similar reasons. The baskets were either Axiom Pro or MVP Black Hole Pro portable baskets. The only difference between them is the color, and the only suggestion that I had here was to switch 2 of the Axiom baskets for the MVP baskets on holes 5 and 6 exclusively for visibility reasons, as the black baskets do blend into the background on holes 5 and 6, and I think that there are brighter colors would make them easier to see from the tee. Currently, holes 1, 2, and 4 are visible enough from the tee where having a black basket on those holes won't matter. Though the primary target audience for this course is guests of the inn, with 2 different course configurations, this could easily be made to appeal to inn guests who have never played disc golf before, as well as provide a challenge to more experienced players. This could be done in a couple of different ways, the primary ones being either different tee locations or different pars for different course configurations. On hole 1, for example, if the course was lengthened by pushing the basket further into the woods, the options are either to have the long tee roughly where it is now and the short tee at the entrance to the woods and have them both be par 3s, or both configurations could start from the same tee and have it be a par 3 for the long course and a par 4 for the short course. Because of the length, difficulty, and inability to see the basket from the tee, hole 8 would most strongly benefit from a shorter tee. Hole 5 is one where I think that the same tee with an additional stroke for par would be a better option. The other holes would be fine with either option. While speaking with the owner of the property, he indicated that there were plans in place to have a glow golf course set up and a long-term potential for an 18-hole course, with the 9 additional holes being in the woods. Even the 9-hole course as it is has a lot of variety, as well as the gorgeous views from the holes at the top of the field. With this being the case, if the property lines allow, I would suggest adding 2 holes in the woods somewhere between current holes 2 and 6 and making current hole 7 the new hole 9. This would reduce the length of the walk back to the inn after playing 9 holes and could have the short course better tailored to a glow golf round and in guests that are new players. This would also potentially reduce the frustration that could occur on hole 8, which is currently the most difficult hole on the course by a significant margin. My overall course rating, as the course currently sits, is that I would be willing to drive 1 hour out of my way to play this course for the first time and 45 minutes to play this course again, with the caveat that with the course being effectively brand new, still in the testing phase, and significant active improvements happening, this course is only going to get better. The more that we can respectfully encourage courses that have a huge amount of potential, such as here at Blue Bear, the better off everyone will be. The closest course to Blue Bear is about 20 minutes away, the 9-hole course at Hillsborough Deering High School, and the closest 18-hole course is about 1/2 hour away at WLC DGC. Both of these courses are on public school grounds and are not playable when school is in session. The 9-hole course at New England College and the 18-hole course at Birch Park are also about a 1/2 hour away. Of these 4 courses within 1/2 hour, WLC is the only course that I feel is currently better than Blue Bear, and there's potential for this course to be better than WLC if a full 18-hole course is built. The Blue Bear Inn could become a legitimate disc golf vacation destination in the next few years. I will definitely play this course again, as I want to keep up with the course developments and see how the course grows as it matures. With the way the property is laid out, with it being on the side of Crotched Mountain, it is likely that the drainage in the wet spring season is very good and there won't be any obvious locations where the extra water is likely to cause problems. Though the small creek on holes 2 and 3 is likely to be deeper, it's not going to get deep enough to cause any significant issues. Also, the views during the fall foliage season are likely to be absolutely stunning. Like, share, and subscribe, and try not to get too frightened by any of the blue bears disguised as chickens near the hole 2 tee. Check out my other video linked here or the playlist of my disc golf courses of Vermont and New Hampshire linked in the description.